Hey guys, just a heads up before the video starts. This video ended up being 35 minutes long, which would have been twice as long as anything I've ever put out on this channel before, so I decided to break it up into 2 parts. So this video right here is going to be part 1, and part 2 will be coming out shortly. Enjoy.
In today's video, we're going to be discussing some theories and stories surrounding the existence of aliens, as well as taking a look at some of the best video evidence of all time, and even searching for some video proof of our own. Now, things in this video are going to be unnerving and terrifying, and may even prove that we aren't the only ones out there.
There is new excitement tonight about the search for possible life in a solar system beyond our own.
Now, I wanted to start with this case because it is just so iconic, and to this day it is still one of the most believable alien videos I have ever seen. Now, in 1995, a video was released that allegedly showed the US military performing an autopsy on an alien. Now, it was said that this footage was actually from 1947, and that the alien in the video was actually recovered from the Roswell crash site. And the footage was instantly viewed as one of the most compelling pieces of evidence to support the theory that aliens do in fact exist. And just from watching it once, this is an extremely realistic video. I mean, just look how detailed that leg is, and even the whole body of the alien. It just all looks so real. But keep in mind, this was released all the way back in 1995. So by today's standards, it's really good. By standards back then, I mean, it is as realistic as it gets. And it's left me wondering, how would it have been possible for them to create such a realistic looking alien back then, and how much would that have cost them? I mean, to create something like this would have cost a fortune, and whoever created the video probably didn't profit all that much out of it. Now, those that believe that this is a fake would often point to the microphone and the telephone shown in the video, and they would say that these products weren't even available at the time. And for a while, this was the strongest piece of evidence against this video. But then that was later debunked, and it was determined that, well, yes, they actually were available back then. And other than that, there really wasn't too much that pointed to this video being a fake. But that was until the creator of this video came forward and admitted that the whole thing was in fact faked. But even despite him saying this, it was never proven that it was actually a fake, and he never came forward and said why he would have faked this. So this has of course led people to believe that the government made him say this, or maybe the men in black made him say this. But either way, it is still just crazy how they were able to pull this off if it was a fake. And there are still people who really don't believe that it would have even been possible back then. And because of this, to this day, this video still remains one of the greatest mysteries surrounding alien life.
A lot of people are talking about a bright light that streaked across Florida this week.
Alright, so this next one is a very recent case that has just taken the media by storm the past few days. Now, a couple days ago, a bright light was seen shooting across the skies of Tallahassee, Florida. It was so large and so bright that it was basically impossible to miss for anyone in the area. And lucky for us, a lot of people were actually able to record and capture this strange anomaly on camera. Here's just one of those videos. Okay, so that's pretty crazy, but is it a UFO? Also, yes, I do know that UFO doesn't inherently mean alien, but for the sake of this video, I'm just going to use UFO in that context, just to clear the air. So was this a UFO? Well, a lot of people think so. And when I saw the original video on Twitter, I was like, oh yeah, that's a UFO. And I'm not really a big believer in this kind of stuff. And it wasn't just what was seen on the video. People in the area also allegedly claim that a loud boom could be heard as it shot across the sky, and that their houses and their cars rattled as it flew overhead. But it wouldn't take long for NASA to officially put out a response regarding this strange light. And their response simply said that this wasn't a UFO, it was a meteoroid. And it is worth noting that this has not been the first meteoroid that was mistaken for a UFO. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but it's actually happened a lot recently. And I think the most recent one was the meteoroid that flew overhead of Russia, which that was crazy. And it definitely depicts a similar scene to what we're seeing from these videos out of Florida. And despite there being a reasonable explanation for these strange lights, there are still those that aren't believing that these are actually meteoroids. And here's why. Why didn't NASA give any heads up that a meteoroid was about to enter our atmosphere and fly overhead? I mean, it's hard to believe that they wouldn't know that this thing would be coming. At least I would hope they would. I mean, it's literally hurtling towards our Earth, entering our atmosphere. You think they would have noticed. It just seems like something that they would tell us about, even if it posed no risk to our safety. It's a cool thing to look at, and it gets people interested in science. So I find it hard to believe that they wouldn't put out a heads up about this. Granted, I know nothing about this field, I will be totally honest, so I could be wrong in that assumption. But maybe NASA is just covering something up. Maybe they were covering up the fact that this strange light was actually a UFO. It is extremely unlikely, but not impossible. So while I was doing my research for this video, I watched a ton of news reports about UFOs and I read a ton of articles regarding alien life, and I noticed something a little bit strange. I noticed that at least when it came to the mainstream media, they never seemed to take things like UFO sightings or alien abductions seriously at all. They always try and make the story seem like a joke, even when it's actually kind of serious. And this is extremely evident in the clip I'm about to show you. Now, this clip is in reference to the US government admitting that it had spent $22 million in researching UFOs. $22 million for UFO research. That's a ton of money being spent on something that apparently is such a crazy oddball thing. And one would believe that if they're actually investigating this kind of stuff, then there's gotta be something to it. And after this news broke, this is how one mainstream news outlet decided to cover this serious story.
Cue the music. What looks to be a case of real-life X-Files.
They're unidentified, they're flying, and they're objects. And the fact that a secret department in the Pentagon thought they were worth millions of dollars of investigation has many wondering if the truth is out there.
It's like, it's so weird, right? It's like they're trying so hard to discredit this and make this seem like a one big giant joke. They're trying so hard. Why? And it's not just this one news station. I can't tell you how many articles I read from mainstream news outlets that started with, "Get your tinfoil hats ready, you conspiracy dumbasses." Okay, well, they didn't actually say that, but they basically said that. They would just discredit the whole article with the first sentence and make it just seem like one big joke. Why are they doing this? It just seems so obvious to me now that the media is trying to make everything involving aliens and everything involving UFOs out to be a big joke. They're pushing that narrative on all of us. And I realized that they've been doing that my whole life. And I think them pushing this narrative has led the majority of the public to just kind of laugh off alien stories, which I get. Some of them are just totally out there and crazy, but there's gotta be some truth to at least some of these, right? But the media has just turned the topic of aliens into one big punchline. But why? You know what, screw it. Let's go off the deep end here. Many people believe that the mainstream media here in the United States is controlled by the government. The government pushes its narratives through the media. That's what some people believe. It's a conspiracy theory in and of itself. So could it be that the government is telling these news outlets to downplay anything involving aliens and extraterrestrial life so that the public doesn't take it too seriously? I mean, that motive does kind of make sense, because if the majority of people were really taking this seriously, then it would push government to release their secrets regarding aliens. I don't know, guys, it's crazy, and I know I sound like a bit of a conspiracy dumbass, but it had to be said. So when it comes to the topic of aliens, there's one thing that scares me maybe more than anything ever in the world, or out of this world. And that is alien abductions. I mean, seriously, that sounds like the most traumatic event you could ever go through as a person. Now, to introduce the idea of alien abductions, I want to first start by reading you some alleged first-hand accounts of those who claim to have been abducted themselves. Alright, let's see what people who actually claim to have been abducted have to say about the whole process of alien abduction. "When I woke up, I was in a pitch black room. At first it was silent, and then I heard speaking. A soft and kind voice spoke. 'That's very good,' the voice said. 'Sit down. Stand up, stay in line, no more rules.' Those words are still engraved in my mind to this day, but do not haunt like the words that he spoke after. This sounds so freaking weird. I swear this is an alien abduction story, I swear. His kind and soft voice turned loud and angry. You can't understand. You just can't. The room was still black, but my eyes were starting to adjust to the dark. I couldn't move from the table I was laying on, but I wasn't strapped to anything. I turned my head to the right and saw a white glowing circle. When I looked to the left, I saw a face. No body, no arms, no hair, just a face. He spoke one final time. This time, I'm sure that it was directly to me. I am the creator. You, the creation. Don't be afraid. Be aware. He spoke all of this without moving his mouth, and the lights came back on and I passed out. When I woke up, I was laying in an open field. The sun was just coming up. What the fuck? That's terrifying. First of all, the encounter itself. Second of all, waking up in an empty field. I don't know what I would do. At about 4 a.m., I drove up to a security gate to go home when a flash of light blinded me. In a split second, I found myself in another place. I was on a mountain, and there was a lake at its foot. Suddenly, a huge spaceship appeared in the sky, while an even brighter light began to emanate from the ground. That's all I remember. Okay, so that's pretty spooky, but what happens next is even spookier. He doesn't think he saw any aliens, but he did end up with weird marks on his right hand. There were 3 of them, and they made a circle. Oh, sorry, triangles. I was like, how do you make a circle with that? And they made a triangle. He said they felt like a burn that wouldn't heal, and ever since this experience, he feels like he's being watched at all times. Now, maybe they put something in him because they were running experiments and these aliens were, are tracking him and watching him some way. But what's crazy about this story is he regained consciousness in his car, driving up to the security gate, and it turns out he had been gone for 3 days. Oh my God, I got the shivers. All right, here's another one. A young girl was in her room at night about to go to bed when she turned around and instantly it was morning. And that's just that. So she had no idea what happened. All of a sudden, it was just instantly morning. What could account for a loss of time? Alien abduction. Not gonna lie, these kind of suck. Why can't I find any really, really good ones? Come on. Okay, here's one. This one might be good. A Brazilian farmer was working at night because it was too hot to work during the day when he saw a red star in the sky. And the light grew larger and larger, started moving towards him, and he tried to run. But as he was doing so, he was tackled and captured by 3 humanoid figures. Now we're getting somewhere. They strapped him, covered him in a weird gel, and then took blood samples. This is where things get weird. A female humanoid creature appeared. And they had sex. I don't know if this is necessarily appropriate, but that doesn't sound too bad. Okay, I'm just messing. So I wasn't really getting anywhere looking for these stories, but I did find a little article that kind of sums up what happens to the majority of people when they get abducted. And it basically says memories of the abduction include being unable to move, hearing buzzing sounds, electrical sensations, and difficulty breathing due to a pressure on the chest. Now aboard the UFO and still immobilized, abductees are subjected to experiments of violent and sexual nature. Abductees might also be told they're special, selected to save the human species by virtue of their experiments, and hybridization by propelling humanity's evolution. Big words, but basically some messed up stuff happens. And I don't know about you, but if I all of a sudden just woke up in some creepy little things with big black eyes were just doing God knows what to my areas, or area in specific, if you catch my drift, I would not be okay with that. All right, well, I am never sleeping again. Ever. So let's talk about why aliens would abduct humans. Well, the answer seems to be that they are studying us, and that when they abduct us, they do all these tests so that they can better understand human life. And it's also not just humans that they allegedly abduct, it's also livestock and other living animals. So maybe they're testing them too. I mean, they're just testing everything. It's like my professors. Now, one theory out there is that the US government knows of these alien abductions and they actually have a peace treaty with aliens. And maybe this treaty allows them to abduct a certain amount of humans each year and run their tests on them in exchange for not destroying our entire civilization. Seems like a fair deal, right? Okay, so let me step out of this darkness for a minute here. There might actually be some real scientific reasons why people believe that they have been abducted, and it has nothing to do with aliens. The reason might actually be sleep paralysis. It's said that those who believe that they have been abducted by aliens really may have just been suffering from a bad case of sleep paralysis. And if you guys have ever had sleep paralysis, you know some messed up stuff happens. I mean, you literally can't move. You see things that aren't actually there. You hear things that aren't actually there. Could we be onto something here? I mean, I'm sure that sleep paralysis can probably account for at least some of the alien abduction stories that I've heard before. But in my opinion, it doesn't account for all of them. Some just sound too traumatic and realistic to ever be dreamed of. I mean, just think about how horrible it would be to actually be abducted by an alien. To make matters worse, you would come back with this traumatic story only to be faced with constant ridicule by the public if you were to tell anyone. I mean, there's a teacher at my high school that claimed she was abducted by aliens, and everybody laughed at her. Everybody thought she was a nut job. What if she was actually abducted? Think about how horrible what she went through and is going through now must be. And I think that goes back to the perception created by the media or the government. But if you actually have been abducted or have seen a UFO, then public scrutiny is going to be the least of your troubles. And it's not even close.
I can't see how this works. How does this work?
Shit. No.
There's no stories that really show what the Men in Black are capable of doing, which means maybe nobody has ever lived to tell about it.
Do you have any idea what we're doing tonight?
Absolutely zero clue.
We are going UFO hunting.
Oh no, we're not.